Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 180 based on novel. So let's start. All Heaven Star System. Bright starlight spread endlessly in all direction. The All Heaven Star System was very large and had numerous cultivation planets. Aside from a few people within the Alliance star system, most cultivators didn't know of the existence of other systems. However, the All Heaven Star System wasn't the same. Almost all of them knew that there was a star system below each of the wind, rain, thunder, and lighting celestial realms. This had a deep relationship with the fact that the Cultivation Alliance was the sole power in the Alliance star system, and they had hidden a lot of things. Including Wang Lin, almost every cultivator thought that the Cultivation Alliance was the only power under the stars. The All Heaven Star System had much more freedom. However, some secrets were still tightly kept. One difference between the two star systems was that there were no sects in the All Heaven Star System, there were only cultivation families. What the All Heaven Star System cared about was bloodlines. Only by having the same bloodline would people gather and create their own force. Several rays of light flew by. There was a total of 4 people, 3 male and 1 female. Although it was hard to tell their exact ages, their appearances were relatively young. There wasn't much difference between their cultivation levels. Aside from the woman, who was a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator, the other 3 were all at the early stage of soul transformation. The woman looked like she was in her 20s. Although she was beautiful, there was a hint of coldness coming from her. However, instead of pride, she gave off a ladylike atmosphere. The 3 male cultivators were all very handsome. However, right now their expressions were gloomy and they constantly looked behind them. One of the males quickly said, "Let's throw away the brilliant red stone. Otherwise, these dark fog insects will not stop chasing us. Once they trap us." The woman softly said, "The dark fog insects will still chase those who took the brilliant red stone even if they throw it away." A large, grey mist was chasing after them. If one looked closer, they would see countless finger-sized insects in the mist. The mist came from something their bodies gave off. Every single one of them had a star compass under their feet, so they were going fast. However, if it wasn't for the woman, who would occasionally scatter large amounts of crystals to block the grey mist, the insects probably would have caught up long ago. Even so, the woman became more and more exhausted, while the insects got closer and closer. Finally, the mist suddenly charged forth and surrounded the 4 of them. From a distance, one could only see the giant mist and not the 4 people trapped inside. The 4 of them came from planet Renun. The woman's name was Renun. The 3 males' names were Ranchen, Ranfeng, and Sanshuashan. The 4 of them originally came to train, but due to certain events, they obtained a brilliant red stone. This led them to be chased by a large amount of insects, and in the end, they were surrounded. The mist the dark fog insects gave off was poisonous to cultivators. Just touching it could injure the origin soul and stop all spells, so it was extremely terrifying. The 4 of them were trapped inside the mist. If not for the woman's jade bracelet, which gave off faint rays of thunder, keeping the mist at bay, the 4 of them would have been long swallowed by the mist and had their origin souls destroyed. The remaining 3 all used various spells and treasures in an attempt to break out of the mist. However, the mist was too thick, and in the end they still couldn't charge out. As time passed, the celestial spiritual energy inside the 4 gradually dwindled and there weren't many pills left. Ranyu frowned and softly said, "The dark fog insects fear thunder spells the most, and I have already requested help from the family. This place is a bit far away from the family, but we must resist until a senior good at thunder spells comes and saves us." Her celestial spiritual energy consumption was the highest, most of it was absorbed by the bracelet. If the bracelet wasn't there, they would be swallowed by the insects in an instant. The only male who was not in the family, Sanshuashan, let out a bitter smile. He looked at the countless insects in the mist and despair appeared in his heart. We can only blame ourselves for being greedy. If we hadn't pried out that brilliant red stone, we wouldn't be in the present crisis. At this moment, a ray of silver light flew by the mist. This ray of silver light looked like a dragon, and there was a young man sitting on it. He was wearing a snow-white robe with his hair tied up behind his back. Although his looks were ordinary, his skin glistened and his eyes were proud. Lightning would occasionally flash across his eyes, making him look even more fierce. He was Wang Lin. After Wang Lin entered the vortex, it was as if he had entered a transfer array. When he came out, he was amongst the stars. There were bright nebulae around him, but not a single person. This was a foreign star system to Wang Lin, not his home, the Alliance star system. This was the All-Heaven star system under the Thunder Celestial Realm. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin took out the star compass. Then, with a trace of confusion, he began roaming the star system. The grey mist in the distance attracted Wang Lin's attention. The silver light flashed under him and he arrived next to the mist. Lightning flashed across his eyes, allowing him to immediately see what was strange about the mist and spot the 4 people trapped inside. The dark fog insects actually trembled under Wang Lin's gaze as if Wang Lin's gaze had solidified into something. They all dodged his gaze, which created an opening. The 4 people trapped inside were immediately startled. Renu's eyes lit up and she was secretly shocked. A mere gaze was enough to force the dark fog insects back. This kind of spell completely shocked her mind. Her beautiful eyes moved and saw Wang Lin on the silver light outside the mist. The despair in Sun Xueshan's eyes immediately disappeared. He immediately clasped his hands and shouted, "Senior, Junior is from the Sun family on planet Renun. I hope Senior can help us. Junior will definitely thank Senior." Ran Chen and Ran Feng both quickly clasped their hands. They sincerely and respectfully asked to be saved. Ranu looked at the young man on the silver light and her eyebrows loosened. She clasped her hands and softly said, "Senior, Junior is from the Ran family on planet Renun. We are trapped by these dark fog insects. If Senior saves us, the Ran family will definitely reward Senior." Wang Lin's expression was calm as his gaze swept the 4 of them. He withdrew his gaze and the mist immediately churned, swallowing up the opening. Exclamations came from inside the mist. The expressions of the people inside immediately became ugly. Sun Xueshan quickly shouted, "Senior, we have a brilliant red stone. If Senior saves us, then we will give this stone to Senior as thanks first." Wang Lin didn't know what the brilliant red stone was, so he wasn't tempted. He looked at the mist and began to ponder. He was too unfamiliar with the All-Heaven star system, so he had to gain information as soon as possible so he could go to the Xiong family that the woman inside the scroll talked about. The 4 people trapped inside the mist couldn't see outside. At this moment, aside from Ranu, the other 3 were filled with tension and anxiety. Ranu's brows began to furrow. There weren't many pills left in her bag, and if this continued, the consequence would be unimaginable. She clenched her teeth and said, "Senior, I..." Before she finished speaking, Wang Lin's voice entered the mist. "Where is planet Renun?" The 4 of them were startled. Sun Xueshan quickly said, "It is about 7 days of travel from here toward the north. If Senior wants to go, Junior can lead the way to repay Senior for saving us." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He raised his right hand and pointed at the void. Suddenly, a ray of lightning came out from his origin soul and he flicked it with his right hand. When the mist dispersed due to his gaze, Wang Lin guessed that these insects feared thunder spells. At this moment, a bolt of lightning shot out from the tip of his finger. It flew through space with a thunderous rumble like it was a thunder dragon. It gave off a powerful pressure as it suddenly charged into the mist. The dark fog insects immediately began to scream and retreat. A large amount of mist came from the insects and pounced on the thunder. If it was a normal thunder spell, it would have weakened when facing the mist. After all, even though the dark fog insects were weak to thunder, the poison in their bodies was still extremely powerful. However, this thunder wasn't thunder formed from ordinary spells but real heavenly thunder. It was an ability Wang Lin had gained when his origin soul combined with the ancient thunder dragon. The thunder dragon roared and then a large amount of mist dissipated. The lightning moved through the mist, causing large numbers of dark fog insects to retreat. They could clearly feel the pressure from the thunder. They were already afraid of thunder, and the heavenly thunder was like their natural enemy, so they quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, as the thunder dissipated, all of the dark fog insects flew far away. The four of them immediately flew out and arrived next to Wang Lin. Without any exception, the four of them felt like they had just escaped the jaws of death, but what they felt even more was shock. Sun Xueshan's gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with shock. As someone from the All-Heaven Star system, he wasn't unfamiliar with thunder spells. Although he couldn't use any himself, the All-Heaven Star system was connected to the Thunder Celestial Realm. Here, thunder spells were the most powerful. His shock came from the might that came from the ray of thunder. He didn't know what kind of spell could cause an illusion ray of thunder to contain trace of real thunder might. This was something not even the elders and ancestors of the family could do. Renun and the other two Ran males were also shocked. Especially, Renun, who sucked in a breath of cold air. Her eyes suddenly lit up when she looked at Wang Lin. After all, she had reached the mid-stage of soul transformation, so her position in the family was higher than that the other three, meaning she knew more secretive things. Her mind was in shock as she recalled everything that had happened. She took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Junior is part of the 9th generation of the Ran family. Is Senior a Thunder Celestial Messenger?" After she said that, Sun Xueshan's expression changed. He thought to himself, indeed, he must be a Thunder Celestial Messenger. However, why would a Thunder Celestial Messenger want to go to planet Renun? Thunder Celestial Messenger? Wang Lin's expression didn't change as he calmly looked at the four of them. He neither admitted nor denied it. Although Renun's heart was in shock, she quickly calmed herself. After she saw that Wang Lin didn't speak, she began to speculate. Although Wang Lin's spells were shocking, the status of a Thunder Celestial Messenger was extraordinary, so she was suspicious as well. Moreover, what really made her surprised was that she couldn't see through Wang Lin's cultivation. This made her even more uncertain Wang Lin's identity. As for the remaining three, especially Sun Xueshan, they were very respectful. Especially Sun Xueshan, who was even excited to the point of fanaticism. After he heard Renun's words, he was determined in his heart that this person must be a Thunder Celestial Messenger. Sun Xueshan respectfully said, "If Senior wants to go to planet Renun, Junior is willing to lead the way." Wang Lin nodded as he sat on the silver dragon and flew toward the north. Sun Xueshan quickly followed with Renun and company behind them. After flying for a short period of time, Wang Lin frowned. The four of them were too slow. Going at this speed would take 7 days. He pondered for a bit before slowing down the star compass and keeping pace with the four of them. He was foreign to the All-Heaven Star system, so he wasn't anxious to rush around. Instead, it would be better to gain an understanding of the All-Heaven Star system to make it easier for him to travel around later. Wang Lin calmly asked, "What other cultivation planets are around planet Renun?" Sun Xueshan was secretly looking at the silver dragon star compass under Wang Lin's feet and revealed a gaze of admiration. When he heard Wang Lin, he quickly said, "Planet Renun is affiliated with Planet Thousand Illusion, one of the major 5 planets in the Northern Domain. There are many other planets affiliated with Planet Thousand Illusion as well." He had some doubts about why Wang Lin didn't know this. However, thinking about how there were simply too many planets in the All-Heaven Star system, he relaxed. Wang Lin's expression remained the same, but his heart trembled. Planet Thousand Illusion. Thousand Illusion. This name is very familiar. Back then, Zhu Qzi had a disciple named Liu Mai who cultivated in the Thousand Illusion ruthless domain. There should be no connection. After all, this is a different star system. Northern Domain. It looks like the All-Heaven Star system is divided into East, West, North, and South domains. It looks like I'm currently in the Northern Domain. Through just one sentence from Sun Xueshan, Wang Lin gained a vague understanding of the All-Heaven Star system. At this moment, Renun softly said, "Senior saved all of us, but we still don't know your name." Wang Lin calmly said, "Shu Mu." He didn't know when the All-Seer and company would come chasing after him, so he hid his real name. Surname Shu. Renun's eyes faintly flickered and her mind trembled. She felt that Wang Lin's identity had become even more mysterious. Shu is the biggest family on planet Thousand Illusion. The Shu family is like a giant tree. Could he be from the Shu family? If she hadn't guessed Wang Lin's identity earlier, it wouldn't have mattered much hearing that he was named Shu. However, Wang Lin had shocked her too much earlier, and this caused her to question Wang Lin's identity. Now her imagination was going wild. After hearing Wang Lin call himself Shu Mu, even Sun Shueshan's pupils shrank, and he became more respectful. Renun raised her head and asked, "Where did Senior Shu come from?" Right after she asked, she immediately regretted it. As a junior, asking such questions could easily arouse someone's anger. She then quickly said, "Senior, please don't take offense, Junior knows she was wrong." Wang Lin calmly looked at the woman. This woman was intelligent and very ladylike. It was obvious that she was the leader of these 4 people. "Do you know about planet Dong Lin?" Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. His tone was very calm, so it was not possible to tell his current emotion. Dong Lin. Sun Shueshan's expression changed greatly. His gaze toward Wang Lin quickly turned from shock to terror. He subconsciously took a few steps back and his face became pale. Not only him, aside from Renun, the other 2's faces became extremely pale as well. Their gazes turned from shock to terror. Even Renun sucked in a breath of cold air. All the guesses in her heart about Wang Lin's identity were swept away. Their reactions didn't seem to match their cultivation levels. Although soul transformation cultivators were not as cunning as ascendant cultivators, they wouldn't be so easily moved. Compared to them, these 4 seemed somewhat immature. Combined with his understanding, Wang Lin suddenly had a feeling that he understood something. It seemed like within these cultivation families, the family members rarely experience deadly situations. Without experiencing countless life and death situations, then no matter how high their cultivation levels were, they would never become true powerhouses. Wang Lin calmly looked at the 4 of them. "Do you guys know about planet Dong Lin?" Renun's expression gradually became pale and she respectfully said, "Senior, planet Dong Lin is the #1 planet in the northern domain. It has another name, Dong Lin Slaughter. There is also something strange about the planet, which is that it is sometimes there and sometimes it just disappears." Renun didn't say one more thing, and that was that everyone who came from planet Dong Lin were ruthless people. There once was a cultivator who came from planet Dong Lin and slaughtered an entire cultivation family. Planet Dong Lin was a terrible nightmare for most people in all Heaven Star system. After that, even Sun Shueshan didn't dare to look at Wang Lin. His heart was filled with uncertainty. He didn't know why this Shu Mu wanted to go to planet Renun. This doubt became even stronger in the hearts of the other 3. This doubt became stronger and stronger in their hearts, causing them to become slower and slower. They were now somewhat unwilling to bring Wang Lin to planet Renun. However, even if this was the case, the 4 of them didn't dare to refuse. Although they were unwilling, their direction was still toward planet Renun. In their eyes, although Wang Lin barely spoke, this Shu Mu seemed to know everything. Many times the 4 wanted to change directions, and every time they were met with Wang Lin's cold gaze. Several days later, a blue planet appeared before Wang Lin. It seemed like oceans occupied most of the planet. From far away, planet Renun was very beautiful. It gave off dense spiritual energy that nourished everything. Through the 4's expressions, Wang Lin knew that this was planet Renun. The spiritual energy from this planet was far above Wang Lin's home planet of Suzaku. Wang Lin moved first and the star compass turned into a ray of silver light that flew into planet Renun. Then the silver light disappeared and Wang Lin floated under the blue sky. Spiritual energy came from the ocean below him. It was even more dense. Wang Lin took a deep breath, then his body flickered and he disappeared. The 4 of them that led the way had ashen expressions. They immediately headed back to their families and explained everything that had happened. When Wang Lin entered planet Renun, a terrifying, dark red light was flying through the Alliance star system. This red light gave off a terrifying aura. It looked like a bolt of lightning as it flew across space, and it was giving off earth-shattering pressure. There was an old man inside the ray of red light. There was a vicious gaze on his thin face. What was most amazing was that he didn't use any magical treasure to fly through space. Every single step he took was as if he was teleporting. He wasn't alone. There was a woman beside him. She was an incomparable beauty. Her lips were red, her eyebrows weren't too thick or thin, her phoenix eyes were pitch black, and she had matchless beauty. Her shining eyes would cause anyone to lose their breath. Her 3-foot-long hair was split into 3 strands. One curled up behind her head with the help of a white jade butterfly pin. The other 2 strands casually hung over her shoulders. She was wearing a beautiful, light, flower imperial top. Below she wore a smoky green flowered dress. While she moved, she was outstanding and dazzling. This woman wasn't any less beautiful than Red Butterfly. It won't be an exaggeration to call her a national beauty. In addition, aside from her appearance, she gave off a charming aura that made her even more attractive. She was following the old man. She didn't use her own speed, she was being brought along by the old man. Otherwise, even though she had reached the ascendant stage, she wouldn't be able to keep up with the old man. While they flew, she turned around and looked at the star system behind her, and her eyes revealed a strange color. It was as if she was recalling the past. It also seemed like she was sighing, but what she felt the most was a very complex feeling. "I'm about to leave," the woman sighed. "Maya, are you still reluctant to leave?" The proud old man turned around to look at the woman. There was a hint of kindness in his eyes. "Disciple grew up here and feels a bit reluctant now that I'm leaving." The woman played with her hair and tightened her red lips. The old man laughed. "There is no need to feel reluctant. Once your cultivation level is high enough, you can return. Although I didn't find the treasure I was looking for, accepting you as a disciple made this trip to the Alliance star system worth it." The woman smiled but didn't speak. However, a gaze toward the star system behind her became even more complex. The old man withdrew his gaze. The woman before him was someone who he met by chance a few hundred years ago. He immediately recognized that she was cultivating the 1,000 illusion ruthless domain and was progressing toward the 10,000 illusion heavenly demon domain. This discovery shocked him greatly. The ruthless domain wasn't exclusive to one star system, and there were many methods of cultivating it. The key was comprehending the heart. However, for someone to be able to reach the 1,000 illusion stage by themselves was rare, but that by itself wasn't impressive. What made him accept her as a disciple was the vague sign of her developing toward the 10,000 illusion stage. He was the head elder of the Huan family on planet 1000 Illusion, the head planet in the All-Heaven star system's northern domain. He had seen many juniors in the family, and aside from a few people, none of them could match her talent. Even among those limited few, they were still lacking compared to her in terms of potential. This was why the old man immediately made up his mind to accept this woman as his disciple. After being together for several hundred years, he grew to love his disciple even more. He even gave up on searching for the heaven-defying bead to take her back to the All-Heaven star system. All-Heaven star system, planet Renun. At the moment Wang Lin appeared, 3 powerful divine senses rushed over. At the moment they arrived, Wang Lin disappeared and gave off no aura. 2 of them seemed to dread each other, so after these 2 searched the area, they withdrew. Only the other divine sense viciously swept across the entire planet. After finding nothing, it let out a cold snort and then disappeared. This person's cold snort spread across the entire planet and also entered Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin's figure appeared in a plane in the northern part of the planet. He raised his head to look at the sky and thought, 1 mid-stage ascendant and 2 early-stage ascendant cultivators. This all-heaven star system is interesting. Such rich spiritual energy, but this cultivation planet only has 3 powers, and each power only has 1 ascendant cultivator. If this planet Renun was in the Cultivation Alliance, I'm afraid it would have been robbed, taken over by an old monster in the 2nd step, or a rank 6 cultivation country would migrate here. There is no way such a planet would only have 3 ascendant cultivators in the Alliance star system. While Wang Lin pondered, his aura began to withdraw. In the blink of an eye, his ascendant aura disappeared and he only displayed the aura of a core formation cultivator. Wang Lin's cultivation was already at the early stage of ascendant and his origin soul was extremely strange. Unless there was someone with a higher cultivation level than him close by, it would be impossible to see through him with a mere sweep of divine sense. Of course, this was not the case for those old monsters who were in the second step. I shouldn't be found if I hide here. Even if the Allseer and company chased me to the All-Heaven star system, they wouldn't think I'd be hiding in a cultivation planet like this. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and gradually grew less fierce. Even though his eyes were still crystal clear, the eye-catching luster was completely gone. From the expression of those full little fellows, Planet Dawn Lin is extremely powerful. Before I'm strong enough, I can't go there. Wang Lin revealed a smile. A gentle, spring breeze blew out and then all the coldness on his face disappeared. He took out an ordinary-looking flying sword and flew off on it. While he flew, his appearance slowly changed. Not long after, his entire appearance changed completely. At this moment, even people familiar with him wouldn't be able to recognize him. Almost all high-level cultivators were good at this kind of appearance-changing spell. However, for high-level cultivators, this spell had too many weaknesses. Any high-level cultivator only needed to focus a bit to see some clues, and when facing people with vision spells, they would be able to see through the spell at a glance. However, Wang Lin was different. He didn't use the spell himself, it was casted by the celestial guard hiding in his shadow. Not many people could see through it. After flying for a short period of time, a city appeared before him. This city was surrounded by walls made of large, blue stones and gave off a commanding majesty. Above the gate were two large characters. Sun Family. Wang Lin put away the flying sword outside the city and landed. He dusted his clothes and calmly walked toward the city. Maybe it was because they noticed that he was only at the late stage of core formation, but the city guards weren't too strict on the inspection. They merely told him that there were cultivation caves especially prepared for foreign cultivators. Wang Lin paid the spirit stones for temporary residence and received a token. Then he walked into the city controlled by the Sun Family. There were a lot of mortals in the city, but there were also many cultivators. All kinds of shops that were filled with stuff cultivators commonly needed lined the sides of the road. Of course, there were some shops just for mortals as well. Wang Lin didn't feel any discomfort while walking on the street. It was as if he was someone from this city. Since he decided to settle here, he was going to find a place to stay. After entering the northern part of the city, Wang Lin immediately felt the silence and thick spiritual energy that covered this area. There were numerous solitary houses with restrictions guarding them. There was a restriction at the entrance preventing mortals from entering. There was also a 300 feet tall rock with 7 or 8 black tokens hanging on it. There was a nascent soul young man sitting under the rock. He had his eyes closed with stream of hot air coming out of his nose. Wang Lin stood outside the entrance and looked inside. The restriction was extremely simple in his eyes. He didn't even need to break it and simply walked in without causing any reaction from the restriction. As he looked at the restriction, the young man under the rock opened his eyes. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "There are only 8 open rooms. Which one do you want?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he calmly asked, "Are there any differences between them?" The young man revealed a look of impatience and said, "The upper rooms cost 1,000 high-quality spirit stones and the lower rooms cost 100. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before taking out 100 spirit stones and placing them down. The young man revealed a look of contempt as he waved his sleeves and collected the spirit stones. He took a token off the rock, threw it toward Wang Lin, and said, "The 5th house from the west, go." After that, the young man closed his eyes and focused on cultivating. Wang Lin caught the token and looked at it. There were 2 restrictions on the token, and one of them was to get through the entrance. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze, put the token away, and walked inside. At the moment he entered, the young man under the stone opened his eyes and muttered to himself in contempt, "Another foreign cultivator who wants to borrow the spiritual energy of my Sun Family to form their nascent soul. HMMPH, how can forming one's nascent soul be so easy? This person's talent is pretty average, even reaching core formation stage was probably due to pills." Wang Lin naturally heard the young man's words. He turned around and looked back before continuing forward. Soon, he arrived before the fifth house from the west. The house looked simple, but it was filled with spiritual energy. After looking around the room, Wang Lin was satisfied. There was only one bed and a meditation mat. There was also a pill furnace and a semi-enclosed closed-door cultivation room. Although it was small, it was very elegant. Outside the room, Wang Lin casually waved his hand and perfected the restrictions on the house. This made the restrictions 10 times more powerful than before. He sat down in a lotus position inside the room and breathed in the thick spiritual energy. His expression relaxed as the spiritual energy filled his body. Shortly after, Wang Lin released a mouthful of foul air and revealed a hint of regret. It has been a long time since I cultivated spiritual energy. Unfortunately, no matter how dense the spiritual energy is, it won't raise my cultivation level. Almost all of the celestial jades in Wang Lin's bag were depleted when he broke through to the ascendant stage. There weren't enough left for him to cultivate daily. There are 5 drops of the celestial liquid left. The 4 drops I took when I was under the effect of the celestial ascension fruit allowed my body to have endless celestial spiritual energy, but that obviously won't last long. In just a few years, the celestial liquid in my body will be used up and I won't have endless celestial spiritual energy anymore. Also, 1 drop of this celestial liquid allowed me to break into the ascendant stage, but the amount of celestial spiritual energy required after is much higher. Consuming some now won't have the same effect as before. Instead of wasting them now, it is better to save them for when I'm injured or when I need endless celestial spiritual energy for a short period of time. Considering all of this, the first thing I need to do is obtain enough celestial jades for my daily cultivation needs. The sky outside gradually darkened, causing the room to darken as well. Wang Lin waved his hand and the candlestick immediately lit up with a crackling fire. The house was immediately enveloped by the light from the candle. There was a fist-sized blue bead on the ceiling. The smoke from the candle rose up and was absorbed by the bead. Soon, the bead was filled with smoke and began to lit up. This phenomenon aroused Wang Lin's interest. He had never seen such ingenious design. He looked at the blue bead that was as bright as the moon. Half an incense stick of time later, the bead inside glowed brightly and a blue light fell. It was very soft, but it extinguished the candle. The bead was now the only thing lighting the room. There are 3 restrictions inside the bead. The 3 gather the smoke, turn the smoke into heat, and use the heat to produce light. In this respect, the all-heaven star system is much better. A faint smell of sandalwood came from the bead. This smell calmed people's hearts. The 3rd formation is this sandalwood smell. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Not only was there no poison in this smell, it could actually speed up a cultivator's cultivation speed. It was an uncommon alchemy material. While sitting inside the room, the outside was completely silent. Wang Lin pondered for a long time and a thought suddenly entered his mind. After pondering for a moment, he erased that thought. Stealing is beneath me, and after all, the amount of celestial jades I need is something only ascendant cultivators would have. Maybe some of the big families here have enough. However, if I do this, I would have to leave planet Renun and go somewhere else. So that is not a good plan. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin raised his head and made a decision. He slapped his bag of holding and some refining materials flew out. He spat out a mouthful of origin energy and surrounded the materials with it. The materials quickly melted and formed 3 molds according to Wang Lin's divine sense. A flying sword, a bronze mirror, and a hairpin. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and countless restrictions landed on them. Gradually, the 3 treasures began to release pressure. Also, because they were refined by Wang Lin's origin soul, lightning would sometimes appear on them. After placing down the restrictions, Wang Lin pondered a bit, recalling the cultivator back on Suzaku that had the domain of time, one cultivator who used domain of time on Wang Lin to let him experience a domain. Wang Lin later made wooden carvings that contained the domain. With his current cultivation level and due to having his own Dao, he was able to imitate it pretty well. With a wave of his right hand, the bronze mirror fell and the time domain entered it. Then Wang Lin recalled again. This time it was Liu Mai's 1000 illusion ruthless domain. Endless illusions flashed across his mind until they eventually turned into a ray of light that entered the hairpin. As for the flying sword, Wang Lin didn't leave any domain inside it. He placed a teleporting imprint inside the sword. This video will end here.